This is the talk of Music City real estate.
Welcome back to another episode of the Talk of Music City Real Estate,
where we educate and motivate all things real estate.
My name is Monty Moore with Realty One Group Music City.
Hey, and I'm Carey Ann with CMG Financial and my mortgage team.
Every week we'll be posting a new episode chock full of Nashville real estate value.
Yes, and you can follow along and subscribe at talkmusiccity.com.
Got a question for us? Ask away at questions@talkmusiccity.com.
Monty.
Carey Ann.
Look at us looking sharp in our suit jackets today.
The talk.
The talk.
Hey, we have an awesome guest with us today.
We do. We're excited to have her with us.
I think that, let me just say thank you for being here, Rozalind Ruth, with Midtown Title. We're grateful for that.
My pleasure.
Before I say any more on that, though, I want to remind everybody, what I've learned over the last 38 years of being in this business is that it doesn't matter how hard you work. It doesn't matter how much you might have given away. You bought a refrigerator or laid your life down on a Sunday morning instead of going to church or whatever it is. You've given up on that transaction. You have sacrificed. You have been all that they wanted, plus you've changed your personality type to meet theirs. All these things. And then the closing attorney gets a hold of that last part of that transaction, the very end of that experience many times. And where are they at? That's why I've learned to be a little cynical on that. Your boss, Mr. Chris Porvo of Midtown Title.
Good guy. Known him for years.
Before I would believe in him, you guys had to close several of my transactions before I could recommend them to our family, our team, our 200 plus agents. And Roz, you guys have never let us down.
Well, thank you very much.
You've never let us down.
Chris has built an empire by building the empire. He knows exactly what he's doing. I think the interesting thing about Chris and about Midtown is that a lot of title companies might be owned by attorneys, and by their nature and their schooling, they're risk mitigators, but that doesn't always translate well to building a business and being entrepreneurial.
Good point.
And Chris does a really excellent job of building the empire, customer satisfaction being number one, and having to balance that with the difficulty of maintaining the law.
Sure.
Yeah.
So before we get into why Midtown and how wonderful Midtown is, and let's learn a little bit about you. Let's learn a little bit about the messenger, okay?
All right.
What brought you here? Tell us about you.
Well, I grew up in Nashville. My parents moved here when I was 3, so I like to think that makes me a Nashville native.
There you go.
Close to it. I went to kindergarten here, so I feel like that counts. After college, I went into the oil and gas industry. I did research for oil and gas. I went to the T9C little courthouses in Ohio, PA, and West Virginia, and I looked at the 100-year-old documents, and we put together chains of title from U.S. patents. So the very first time it was legally given until the present. Every single document that pertained to a piece of land, we did those reports.
Wow.
And
the research queen, then, aren't you?
Yeah, I'd like to think I am.
That taught you a lot.
It did. It taught me a lot. Even knowing that the little details will give you that leg up. Knowing that Lottie is a nickname for Charlotte will help you navigate the indexes to find that deed that you need to find.
Lottie and Charlotte.
Wow.
Lottie and Charlotte.
I feel like there's a country song coming on.
Yeah. But that research background is actually somewhat unique to me. A lot of title and escrow processors come from an escrow background.
Right.
They often come from lending backgrounds. And mine is in research, and I like getting my hands dirty. I like going to the books and pulling them down and flipping the massive pages and finding the jewel that you're looking for, which is the deed that connects the chain of title. That was always a very fun and interesting thing for me.
I'd rather stick needles in my eye, I think, just for the record there. That sounds terrible. I'm glad you enjoy it.
I enjoy it, and I always joke around that title and escrow isn't great party conversation. I can tell you that firsthand. But I thought that's what makes me the perfect person for this job. Put your aces in their places. Get people doing what they love to do, and they do a good job.
That's amazing. I think Chris, being a businessman that he is, one of the most important things is hiring the right people, putting the right people on the bus, and finding that talent, that jewel, that diamond in the rough, and that's definitely you, right? And so if you think about every operation, whether it's real estate or title or insurance, et cetera, there's always probably a lead, right? There's probably one name at the top, but we're only as good as the people that we surround ourselves with, right? And title processors, I put them way at the top because it's timing. It's trust, right? There's a rhythm that we expect. And a lot of real estate agents maybe are talking to the attorney and or the front person. Us as lenders, we are right with you. We're hand in hand, right? With our processors and you, and to really get a transaction to the finish line in a timely fashion. And so that is what you are so amazing at. And so hats off to you on doing it a great job. But because you have to know all those details, you have to cross the T's and dot the I's. You can't miss one little thing or everything kind of goes downhill fast, and so that's an amazing, job that you're doing.
So Roz, you've been doing this a little while now. So what do you feel differentiates you in Midtown to, I don't know how many closing attorneys there are in town. Any idea?
Yeah,
there must be
100
100 or something. I don't know what there is.
Quite a few. I don't myself have a count, but I was thinking if we had to choose one thing that differentiates Midtown, I would say it's our utilization of technology. We use a lot of new tech, a lot of tech that, again, those attorneys that want to mitigate the risk may not be willing to try out, but that's something that we want to do. We want to innovate as much as we can with that technology. We've got digital platforms for collecting Ernnest money.
That's a big deal in today's world.
It's a huge deal. I don't know many people that have checks. I might be the only person in the millennial generation.
I wrote one today, actually.
Did you really? How'd that feel?
I was like, is this even real? I don't know. Yeah. Maybe a little cash.
I do, but I'm one of those cool, old school millennials.
There you go.
But it's really great, not just because of the ease of it makes it great, because life is a lot less predictable nowadays. Nowadays, people want to do things at 11 o'clock in the evening, unlike...
While I'm sleeping.
Yeah, while I'm certainly sleeping. But having those digital platforms to do that means, guess what? We can still make midnight cutoff for that Ernnest money. Guess what? We can still... It doesn't matter if Midtown is closed or wherever. We can still make the deals that we need to make happen, because we're in a 24-hour world nowadays.
Yeah,
there's
so true.
No more business hours.
So true. So what's that service that Ernnest money is called?
It's called Ernnest. It's Ernnest spelled with 2 N's. It's an ACH transaction, so that's a transaction like a check as opposed to a wire. So it's more secure for those first interactions that we have with clients. We'll speak of security later because it's also very, very important to what we do. But Ernnest allows us to have ease and security, and most often you don't get both of those at the same time.
Right.
It's
That's
usually
huge.
one or the other.
Yeah, I mean, when we talk, everybody makes connections out there in the world of real estate. They use this vendor for this reason or that, or maybe they just met them and they just had a really good connection. As professionals and as the CEOs of our own business, we really want to take a moment and interview that title company, right? Interview all the vendors, whether it's lender, insurance, title, etc., and really talk through all the things that make them really important and well balanced for your client, but also allow you as the real estate agent to shine bright.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely, it's a representation of who you are, who you surround yourself with.
Absolutely. So asking your title company if they do Ernnest, or they have Ernnest capabilities and things like that. For some reason, I'm going back to that movie back in the day. I think I even dressed as him at one Halloween. Remember Ernnest Goes to Camp? For some reason, all I see is that gentleman with the ball cap, going there.
Nashville institution.
There you go. Is that it? I don't even know. Okay.
He is a Nashville institution.
He was from Nashville.
From Nashville.
There you go. Look at me.
Jim Varney.
I love it. So good.
Yeah.
So
Look at you. You knew his name.
the woman who knows all. She's just a plethora of information. So good. So share more about what Midtown offers.
So we have a really excellent fee calculator, title fee calculators. I'll tell you the truth. I don't know what the formula is for calculating the cost of title insurance premiums because I've got fee calculators to do that for me.
Okay.
So if you go to midtowntitletn.com, you can find our fee calculator there. You can plug in seller concessions. You can plug in who is paying for title. You can plug in commissions. You can get a really good net sheet, not only for sellers, but for buyers. A buyer net sheet is a lot harder to come by than a seller one.
What was that again? Midtown Title?
Midtowntitletn.com. And that same application, if you follow the link on our homepage, our real estate agents can download the app and have the app on their phone at any time. So you can always access it through the internet. You can have it through an app. And it's really great for those clients that need to know now at the 11 o'clock at night.
As we see the market shift here a little bit, we're going to see equity shrink. And when equity shrinks, the importance or the focus on the cost to sell that house only increase, or to buy that house. But mainly to sell the house is the difference now. When people have huge equities, they don't care so much, but now they're going to start caring. So to have that tool at your beckoning wish, that's a big deal.
Yeah, and work closely. Just a reminder, when talking about the buyer's net sheet, it's really important to work closely with your lender because every client's scenario is a little different. So the cost for each client for each loan is going to be a little different, right? Some clients right now are looking to maybe buy down. You're hearing that lingo a lot. So their so-called costs maybe a little bit more, a little higher. Also, talking about seller concessions, that was like a thing that none of us talked about for so long, right? And now it's coming back, right? So remember, on conventional, the seller can pay 3% plus title, which is what Roz is talking about. On a VA loan, 4% plus title. On an investment, it's 2% plus title, right? So there's some rhyme or reason to all of that. And it's important when you're going out and asking the seller to pay those concessions, knowing what they are, is key on that too. So good stuff.
And to jump off of that springboard, I like to think, I was telling my teammate Michael today, just utilizing the simplest of technology has set us apart. One way that we do that is through our watermarks. We have watermark technology, not a new wild idea, but we know how to utilize it. I had a client, I had a realtor who said, I was really frustrated with X title company because they would never send me a CD and they always blamed it on the lender. And I said, I can understand where that title company is coming because it is really difficult for us to give fees to buyers because the sticker shock between having lender fees on a closing disclosure and not is a huge amount. So I thought one day, we want to warn them that this isn't complete, that this is that their cash to close is going to be substantially larger, but we still want to give our realtors time to review things. The things on the closing disclosure that I put on there are negotiated in the contract. They're not closing without a realtor knowing. They're not changing without the realtor knowing, but they need to see that. And instead of saying, well, your lender is the one causing a problem, which is not the whole of the story by any means.
Yes.
We say,
hey, it's not a problem. It's there's cost of doing business. It's not a problem.
We say, hey, these are title fees. Take a look at these. These aren't going to change. We can do edits all day long, and then I can make sure that I have my fees right for your lender so that we're not doing last minute changes or changes closer to this. Lenders get actual accurate numbers from me and not just a guesstimate from me. And so we're able to use even the simplest technology of put a watermark on it that says preliminary, and we're able to get people access to numbers faster, and that's huge.
So I didn't know what a watermark was. So you're saying preliminary. The word preliminary is watermark.
Yeah, it's written all the way across
I've seen them before. I just didn't know what it was called.
However, Roz said, my bottom line is blank. This is what the rest of the story will end up being. So there is a fine line with that. If someone is asking and really wants to see, just make sure the disclaimer is that these numbers can easily change, because title fees or blank, and all the rest of the story, comes a little later, right? And so we want to make sure that we walk through all of that. But from a real estate agent, again, I know you're looking for if your commission is there correctly. Did they put the broker fee on there? Is there an admin or a contract to close fee? All the things. So that's important to kind of look for. But I would not guide you and have that be sent at all to your borrower.
Absolutely.
Because I think it's important that we really get them excited. Like you were saying, you do all the things. You don't want them emotionally distraught at all at the end because they saw a number and that's really all that they're headed towards. Oh my gosh, I was just able to save thousands of dollars.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Even though that's
Because
not
not
true,
complete.
that's kind of what some people think,
And that
It's my lucky day.
that is the
And then you become the bad guy.
Yeah,
We forgot about this.
yeah, we share that fear because I'm sure have both had those clients that say, "What do you mean it's now?" And so that's why a lot of other title companies are so unwilling to commit. Even when we give caveats up and down, this is only title, this is only title, having that watermark and also explaining that it's only title and only sending it to a realtor who does understand the process and the timeline. All of those things have been so beneficial to us, and it's resulted in far, far, far fewer edits made day before, 2 days before. We have all that done.
And a shout out to them because what she's referencing is when I, as the lender, send the title documents over to the title company to prepare the final CD, that actually, even though we're preparing it, it gets sent to you to finalize it. And then we do something called balancing, right? And so depending upon how quickly one is closing, and for a lot of my clients, we're closing in a quick fashion. That's just something that we're known for. So sometimes that CD is not yet fully balanced, right? But when working with your group, already thinking 2 steps ahead, Roz already has those numbers prepped, which is key. Let's talk about HOA, because that's one thing that your clients feel a lot, because it's not a lender fee, it's not a title fee, it's associated with the home itself, part of a third-party association,
which you have no control over.
Which we have no control over, but those fees are wanted to be collected by that association fee at time of close, which they are then added to the CD. So it is one of those situations where usually those are brought to the table at the last minute, and maybe we discuss the reason for that.
Sure. One of the biggest reasons in the past is because when we separate out our responsibilities between buyer and seller title companies, it's the seller's title company who is responsible for providing this HOA document. So as proactive as I want to be, I can't order it, and I have no control over how proactive the other title company is. And I, again, am utilizing my technology to try and at least pad that a little and help. So I've built a database. I find Maple Street HOA, and as soon as we have a closing in that HOA, I have a database in which I put the transfer costs, the working capital cost, the monthly due amount, all of these fees that normally come along. And that way, instead of waiting to give lenders that information, I can at least say, this is an estimate, and I can put it in there.
That's awesome.
And it gives them a much better estimate.
Yeah.
People are much more receptive.
That's like Carey Ann paying for the survey or doing that flood cert on the front end.
Right.
As I was sharing on the huddle call yesterday morning, the best defense is a better offense. And what you're doing there is you're being offensive and proactive. Love that.
But a lot of the real estate agents, and the reason why we bring it up, you may not know that there is a lengthy process when it comes to getting the HOA dues. And another big part of it is costly. So she's done her homework and already had it. But if she would have to go out and get that from large HOA company A, B, or C, and many of us know the names of them, they're like, hey, that's $150 or that's so much money. So much money to receive that. And so a lot of times the seller's title company wants to make sure we're actually closing before they're going to go, put business capital, into gaining that. So that's good information. But again, providing as confident and accurate numbers and true numbers to your borrowers on the upfront is just going to make for a smoother closing. So great job in regard to that.
Well, thank you. People are much more hospitable to a change of $50 than a change of $1,000.
Right. Oh,
so
we
that's
know.
why
we know. So let's talk about security. I think that's a big part, right?
That's a big part.
And many of us feel that. Many of us have lots and lots of conversations from the beginning, middle, and end of a transaction to remind people that there are some not so good people out there.
Yeah.
There's some evil son of a guns out there that are playing and fishing and looking for that opportunity, those keywords and so forth. So it was really wonderful a few years ago to find out that Chris, the owner of Midtown, I think every quarter goes through a complete, what do you call it? Not an audit, but what do you call that? A forensic?
A digital audit. Our IT department.
I know he spends thousands of, I think $10,000, something like that, to make sure that everything's solid.
Yes, and I believe he actually goes beyond what is required by ALTA, which is our licensing bureau. He goes beyond that, and that is very stringent in and of itself.
Sure.
We are I myself am very focused on security, because the number one way to satisfy a customer is to keep their money safe. And ultimately, I want people in houses, and I want people to get the equity that they put into those houses when they sell. They are, again, utilizing what might be simple technology, but actually utilizing it. So every single one of my signature lines in my email has a secure link. This is not required, but I do it, has a secure link. So any piece of information that anyone wants to send me, they can always send it to me securely.
Similar. We do that as well. That's important for sure.
It's very important because we handle those very sensitive
They can't
documents.
cut and paste that signature?
They could.
The bad guys?
But it will always send it, if they use that link, it will always send it to my...
But what they do is they make it look really close to Roz.
Oh, yes.
Midtown.
Oh, yeah. But they
You just
won't,
put
they
a
can't get through
ROX
the
or something.
security.
Okay.
Yeah.
If they use that link, it will always come to my computer, and I'm not going to be doing anything nefarious with it. So there's that. If it is a legitimate email, they're not going to be sending and unsecured social security numbers, bank account numbers, all of the things that we want to protect for ourselves. They're not going to be sending that for anyone to access. God forbid they break into that amazing email system that Chris has built up. We redact portions of the Ernnest money checks. I have heard of a client who had his signature imaged and used on a fraudulent check for his banking account. Wow. So we redact enough of the signature to show that it is a viable check. They have paid it, but no one is going to get a copy of my client's signature from that check. We redact enough of the bank account information so that lenders can still show its provenance, show where it's coming from, but they're not going to get the full bank account information. We send that out to our realtors so that it's secure, so that the realtors don't have to worry about having their own security, making sure that all of theirs is. It originates from me in a secure way, and that is very, very important to us.
That's huge. Can you imagine what the world would be like if people use their powers for good?
Yeah.
I mean, those kind of people just, oh my God.
Yeah.
Hate's not a good enough word probably for them, but it's just so bad.
Yeah.
So a friendly reminder on that, as much as that's what's done on the title world, you're not able to do that on the lending world. So I'm not able to take a bank statement that has a cross out or a this or that. And so when a client sends in their bank statements, we want to have that go through security channels so we can see the full thing, because there is a lot of loan fraud. And so people do cut and paste and things. So anything that looks a little strange, they're going to slow that process down a little bit. So make sure that we know that we have one side and then there is another side regard to that.
We've thought of that. So we do keep a non-redacted copy, and we say, if your lender needs it, we will send it directly to your lender through a secure email.
Yes.
And that takes the burden off of the agent for having to get that security.
Awesome.
I know that lenders have a lot of security, as they should, and I can send it directly without fear of interruption.
You know, cash has been king for so long, right? So there's money moving left and right. You know, it is important to know, like you referenced, the bad guys can be really creative. They're really tricky. You know, they can make it look like it's my name, but forget the R, or forget, you know, the E, and it's Carey, you know, a different way. I've had even they coming after us. So, you know, people have tried to be our owner, you know, and come across. So you have to take a moment and slow for all things that we do as professionals in this industry, and really figure out if this is a true email coming to you. Don't go so fast that you're not reading, you know, the whole paragraph. You're only reading line A, you know, the first and the last line, because you'll figure out that some of the language is not English. You know, you'll find that it's not a normal sentence.
It helps to read it out loud sometimes.
Yeah, the periods are in the wrong place, or the capitalization is not accurate, you know, and what they're saying would not be. Like in a situation where we had with a customer is they had a nickname, and in all throughout the conversations, it's always been the nickname, right? Nickname. And then all of a sudden this email from, whether it's from title, from us, they make it look like it's either or the two. And they're saying now the formal name, right? And so it would be like if somebody calls me Carey, you know, versus Carey Ann, that makes me slow, right? To say, you don't really know who I am, you know, type of thing. So always be thinking and looking at that kind of stuff. That's key. And educate your clients too on it. I think it's important. We've caught a lot of bad guys, a lot. So it's happening still. And that doesn't mean that your title company, you know, is concerning, or my mortgage company is concerning. It's just, there's really smart people
sit in a boiler room all day long teaching one another, and that's their whole thing, running the numbers. And, you know, with all the 1.7 million, or whatever the number of agents are out there, not all of them are being taught properly. And you know, that's what they're looking for, is those little gaps.
Well, you look when you get your credit card and you see $1 charged. You know, that's them testing the waters. And then all of a sudden they've done a whole thing in Austin, Texas off your credit card, you know, was a whole whirlwind fun day.
Sadly, title companies have often been the best option to spoof, meaning take on a different, because slightly different name.
You.
Because also we tend not to have, we have not in the past had a personal relationship like clients have with their loan officer and with their realtor. So I always tell people Midtown Title reaches out to the clients because, yes, it is nice to be nice, but it's also part of our security. I want people to know that if Roz, quote unquote, Roz sends them an email asking them for extra money, that they know I'm a human. They can call me and say, Roz, what's going on with this? I had a client who had a completely separate title issue. It was about his driveway. And a few days later, he goes, Roz, you told me that my money was in escrow. Why are you asking me for another $100,000? And I said, absolutely not. I am not. Tell your spouse, tell everyone, do not send that money. Thank you so much for calling me. But it's because I had a personal in-person relationship with him that he thought, I'm going to call Roz about this strange email that she sent.
Awesome.
So we want to be nice, because nice is nice, but it has a very important security.
I almost got caught the other day. I don't know if you've received this, but it's Amazon sending text messages saying there's something wrong with your account. Type of thing. I mean, those phishing, you know, texts and emails can get you sideways for sure. So let's, keep going.
No, I was just going to say, let's get back to our original question as far as the security part, you cannot indulge on time and focus on that, guys. We live in a crazy world with some nasty people in it. But let's get back to what makes Midtown different. One of the things I like about Midtown, and I think Chris was really wise in doing this, is setting up, additional attorneys.
Yes.
I mean, I've sat down at more than 3,000 closings in my life, and it's amazing to me how infrequently those are handled by attorneys. As an example, there's a lot of, and no offense to closing, what are they called?
Notaries.
Well, notaries, but a closing agent, I guess, is what they're called. There's no offense to those whatsoever, but to have a real live attorney at a closing table, I think there's some additional merit there, especially for the detailed thinkers, you know, where they want to know the details or what this line means and this kind of thing. They want an answer from somebody who's got some sort of credentials. I love that 90% of the time, 99% of the time, when Midtown closes something, it's with an attorney.
Absolutely. So a closing attorney is not a requirement in the state of Tennessee, but
Right.
Midtown makes a special effort to have every closing done with an attorney. We've got 5 on staff. We have really excellent attorneys. One of the extra benefits of having 5 different attorneys is that they all have their own personal strengths and professional strengths. We have one attorney who was a litigator for years, and I'll tell you, when I need some business to happen, I know which one I'm calling to give the other guy a call. But we also have attorneys that I can think of one in particular who is a very kind and compassionate person. And when we know we have the client that is very nervous, sometimes presenting as angry, we say
Presenting as angry.
Presenting as angry.
I need to let Connie know about that term. I'm just presenting as angry right now, sweetheart.
When his or her anxiety manifests itself as anger,
Right.
we've got great
Somebody who can calm.
attorneys who can calm them down and still be accurate with the law and with the details, which is what they need. So we get, with a variety of attorneys, we get to cater to the variety of needs for each closing.
Yeah, that's huge. And that's kind of where I was headed, is the closing, right? The ending, the big show, right? I mean, being quite intelligent and having that attorney there is key, but also having a personality, making it fun, right? Getting the excitement, to the finish line. And you guys have a lot of that. You see people sign up with Notary A or Notary B, and, there's no homework. There's no research. There's no interview process on if Notary A or Notary B would represent your title company in a way that you would want to get another referral type of thing. And, we're only as good as the ending of any show, right?
Well,
That's the last,
absolutely.
memory, and we want that to be as enjoyable, as possible. And so, really focusing on that closing piece is so key. And you guys do a great job of that.
Not long ago, one of our top agents was closing a deal with I don't know if I should mention, it's let's say Closed Window. We won't mention their actual name. Which is okay.
Keep talking.
Okay, so the point is, and I said, and they had a traveling notary for the closing. I said, how come you're not using Midtown? He goes, oh, that was part of the deal. I had to use their closing attorney in order to win the deal. Okay, this is a few months ago where you had to, those kind of games were being played, and that closing, no offense to traveling notaries at all, but this person barely spoke English, let alone able to answer any question, didn't know anything about anything, plus wanted to come in and print the package off in our office because he's a traveling attorney, or not attorney, but traveling notary. That was embarrassing. Now, what does the consumer think in that situation? What am I paying for here? I forget. But that's what. But those kind of entities don't care.
I had the funny story that you referenced that. I think it's with the same. Now that I've figured out what he's actually saying. It's open door. But I had up north a girlfriend of mine. She's the broker to a large firm, and here comes this notary with attitude and all the papers and the whole thing, right? And very rude and not very welcoming, etc. And she comes around the corner, and he basically says, "And who are you?" She goes, the name on the sign, type of thing. Because it's just funny. We all have to be professional within our industries, and be welcoming and understand that we all need each other to get these closings to the finish line.
But to use these subpar entities, it's embarrassment.
$1 is never good.
It's embarrassment to the rest of us in this industry.
Well, I will say our clients often do have to use mobile notaries when they're out of town. We've got a lot of people moving to the Middle Tennessee area, but we have fixed that. We have addressed that problem as well. We have a really excellent nationwide mobile notary service.
Good.
They vet They vet
done your
their
homework.
notary.
You have to speak English?
I'm sure you do. They do have options for other languages, which is an excellent thing.
That's important.
We need to love on all languages.
I know it, but I'm
what
just saying.
I like as a beautiful single woman,
Are you describing yourself?
Yes,
What's happening?
me.
Oh,
if I as a beautiful single woman, one thing that they provide is an image of the notary that's going to show up to the
good,
client's house,
good.
and that to
nice.
me is a wonderful.
Oh, so you're
wonderful
from a
thing.
safety standpoint,
From a safety
from your
standpoint,
standpoint.
all of these things. We are even looking at our vendors to make sure.
Good.
Are you going to show up with the papers to closing?
Yeah,
Are you going
and that's what I'm talking about. You can have a notary, but do your homework, do your
Yeah.
research, know who you're actually sending.
Yeah.
If I hire my own, then that's up to me
Right.
at that point. And going back to closing agents, there's some amazing ones locally, right? But they've done their homework, right? They just don't come off, whatever, and just think that they're going to be closing, agents. It takes time to be great
Yeah.
and study your craft to be a true professional. And there's so many within our industry. There's not just one lender, there's not just one title company,
Amen.
but it takes, all of us to be true professionals to really make an amazing Middle Tennessee area shine bright within our real estate community.
It's our hope. My hope that all of us want to raise the bar.
Yeah.
And granted, I'm a little cynical when it comes to that topic of lender and title professional, because I've earned that right. I've been disappointed, over the last 38 years, once in a while, so I'm critical on that part. I really, truly am. And I try to inflict our agents with that consciousness that don't just willy-nilly use whoever that your other client, the other side is doing or whatever, just because it's convenient for you to get your check quickly. There's more to it than that. Be intentional. Your client will recognize that you're taking better care of them. Your authority is increasing in their eyes, and that's what our goal is as professionals, is for people to know, like, and trust us, because they're going to want to do future business with us, and they won't hesitate to refer people to us in the future.
Absolutely. And at the end, we're all human. We all make mistakes. But what's one thing that's great about your organization and mine, and also yours, is we're going to do everything in our power to make it right. That's what's really key about it. So, Roz, thank you so much for being
Roz.
here.
My pleasure.
And we really
Absolutely.
enjoyed it. And keep up the great work. You do an amazing
Well,
job.
thank you.
And thank you, everybody,
Roz.
for
We
listening.
appreciate you.
You've been listening to The Talk of Music City Real Estate.